Okay, in this video demonstration, I'm going to be showing you guys how to block model a YF-22. Now, I have a couple of aircraft which was modeled using the same method. So this is, let me just go to let me get rid of all these extra Maya windows. Okay, the particular aircraft that I want to model is this aircraft here, the Lockheed Martin F-22A Raptor. Now, this particular blueprint is very good. I found it on blueprints.com. The reason why I like this blueprint is because, first of all, the image is huge, and also it contains cross-section profiles of the target model. You can see, you can read from here, A cross-section is the nose here, the duck-billed nose here, and then B is the cockpit section. And you can see the cross-section is a diamond. So this blueprint provides a lot of details. Now, I'm not sure how accurate this blueprint is, but I already downloaded it and I'll be using it to use it as a basis for the modeling. Now, the first thing I'll usually do is I will open up the image in Photoshop. Okay, and then I'll convert the canvas into a square. I'll copy the longest length and I'll replace it with the shortest length so that I'll convert this into a square image. Now I have the option of drawing guidelines and stroking red lines to act as guides. But in this demo, I'm just going to skip that process. I'm going to save the image, give it another name. And then I'm going to go back into Maya, create a plane, a polyplane with a subdivision level of just 1 by 1. So just highlight the text here and middle mouse click and drag. Then the width and height, normally I will just increase it beyond the size of the grid. Okay, when you're modeling in Maya, try not to model it within the grid. Make sure that your model is as big as the grid or bigger than the grid. So right now I have this plane. I'm going to assign it with a right mouse click on it, assign a new material. And I'm going to use the surface shader. And on the surface shader tab here on the attribute editor, click on the out color checker box to bring in the file. And click on the folder to bring in the F-22 image. Okay, let's see, where did I save this? Lockheed Martin square image. And press number 6 on your keyboard to put a texture. So for me, normally I'll line up the drawings with the plane or aircraft or whatever vehicles pointing downwards towards Z. So I'll start by going to the top view. And I'm going to grab the reference, then holding down to J and then rotate it 90 degrees so that I can see my top view here, in this case, pointing downwards towards Z. So I'm going to shift this top view drawing until the thick line in the grid cuts the plane exactly in half. Okay. Next, I want to line a side view of this drawing onto the right view. So I'm going to duplicate this piece, Shift D, and duplicate another piece. Press E to rotate, holding down the J to snap rotate. Grab in the Z axis and rotate 90 degrees. Okay. If you want to rotate more precisely, you can go to the channel box and enter the values yourself. So I'm going to press W to move and bring the side view until the wheels touches the grid. Okay, make sure you push it behind the grid line here. Go to the right view. Okay, I'm going to press D to move the axis down a little bit so that I can grab the image up and push it up a little bit more. So I'm going to push this until the wheels are touching the floor, or rather the thick grid line here. And I think this should be sufficient. Okay, and then now I'm going to duplicate this, Shift D, duplicate another piece here, and move it aside. Press E to rotate, holding down the J, rotate until the front view faces 90 degrees towards the Z direction. Now go over to the front view. Press W to move, and then proceed to move the reference until the wheels are touching the thick grid line, and position it until the reference drawing is cut exactly into half. Try to move it as closely as you can. Okay, now I want to do some trimming. Go to each of the individual planes and go to edge mode and start to trim the reference. So I'm going to trim this. Since it's the top view, I'm just going to insert an edge loop until I see only the top view. And then I'm going to delete this. And for the side view, I'm going to insert edge loop again. Remember to go to edge, insert the edge loop, and trim it in such a way until you only see a face showing the reference. So I'm going to delete away the additional faces. Now I'm going to leave the last bit here alone because it contains a number of very useful information like the cross section. So if you're modeling and you have this kind of cross section information, this is very valuable. So you want to keep them. And also it also includes the bottom view of the jet aircraft. And one thing unique about this aircraft is that if you look at the bottom of the aircraft, you notice that the jet intake is actually, from this angle, it looks like a diamond shape. But from a front view of the aircraft, it is this sort of like a skewed rectangular shape. So I'll keep this, and then we can actually start to block the image. So first, select all the references and put them in its own layer. Double click on the name and type REF, and then save so that you can lock the reference. So now the references are locked. My right view is showing the correct view. Front view is showing the correct view here. And then my top view is showing the correct top view with the aircraft pointing downwards. So I usually start off for this type of aircraft because it's quite angular. This is a stealth aircraft, so most of its faces are quite flat and angular. I will actually start off by using a cube. Okay? But if your aircraft is like that has a cylindrical or round body, then I'll suggest you start off with a low number sided cylinder, like maybe an 8 or even a 6-sided cylinder. Okay, so in this case, I'll start off with a cube, polygon cube, a simple polygon cube, and I'm just going to give it maybe about 1 subdivision each, like this. So, or rather 2 by 2 by 2 subdivisions. And then I'm going to select half of these faces and go ahead and delete them. Go to the right view, go and select in object mode, go and bring the cube until it's about the center position here. So now I'm just going to start by blocking this out first. So go to vertex mode and pull the vertices of both ends, or you can use scale to perform the same function to scale it up all the way until it reaches the end of the aircraft. Okay. Next, go to the front view, grab the vertices, and then pull it until it is about the distance between the center and to the cockpit area. Okay. Now go to the top view. Okay, I'm just studying the shape. Okay, right now I'm just going to concentrate on this half of the aircraft, especially the crew compartment, the cockpit area first. So let's go to the right view again, and I'm going to switch over to X-ray. And I'm going to study the profile of this aircraft very carefully. The area where there is a transition in the shape, for example, if you look at the nose here, there's a change in the shape where it slopes up. We need one edge loop here. So go to edge mode, and we go ahead and then insert one edge loop. Okay, and then what about here? Okay, this area is where the canopy pops open. And although there's not really much of a transition area, but it actually contains the area where the cockpit is. So I want to put in another edge loop here. Okay. And later on, we'll be pulling out the wings. So I want to insert one more edge loop right about here where the jet intakes start. Okay, that is where we will pull out the jet intake, then plus the wings. So I think we have enough edge loops for now. In fact, this edge loop here, we could have moved this forward, but I'm just going to select by double clicking on this edge loop and just push it back for the time being. So we have enough edge loops now. So we're going to start to pull the vertices and start to shape it according to the shape of the aircraft. Now this edge loop here, I'm going to put down here, so on. This one I'm going to put it up here. Okay, then again, you can see a transition in change of shape here. So we can go ahead and insert one edge loop here. Okay, the side profile looks about right. Let's look the front. Okay, obviously, you can see here it's not matching it because we need to move the vertices so they form a diamond shape. Okay, let me take a look at the cross section at the moment. So in order to form the diamond shape, we need to make sure you select the correct edges here. I'm going to start at the bottom by selecting these corner edges first. Okay, switch back to front view and then push the edge loops inwards, or rather the corner edges. Now, switching back to perspective view again. Now I'm going to select the top part. Now for this one, we have to be a little bit more careful because we want enough volume above here to form the cockpit area. So I'm going to select these group of vertices and then push them in. And then this one, push it in so that it forms the cockpit area. Because if you look at my right view, I have not actually created the canopy area yet because I want to select the top faces to extrude out to form the canopy area. So I want to maintain some space right about here. If you look to the top view as reference, okay, I'm going to push this. Okay, make sure you select the correct vertex. I'm going to select the vertex on top to create this section for the cockpit area. Okay, sometimes it will be better if you were to set up your layouts to have two panes side by side so that you can see the right view and the top view at the same time. Okay, remember to switch to X-ray. Now I'm going to move to this vertex. Then I'm going to check, and then I'm going to move on to this vertex, and then I'm going to move it in to create the cross section. Okay, again, this one, I'm not looking at the reference. I'm just moving it in based on my knowledge on what the shape of the aircraft should look like. So these two more vertices are going to push it in. At this stage, you can see we have a very basic looking shape for the aircraft. It doesn't have any wings yet. Okay, the wings can come in later. But now we definitely need the canopy. So we select the two faces to form the front here. Putting down the shift, right mouse click and extrude. Then you can start to extrude the cockpit area. Switch over the vertex mode. Grab the vertices and start to move forward. Okay, I'm going to grab these group of vertices and then move it forward a little bit. Okay, you can actually reflow these topology later on as you progress with the modeling. Okay, I mentioned about reflow. What do I mean by that? Because it'll be actually much better if you have the edge loop to run vertically downwards, but at the same time, you do not want to create three-sided faces. So what you do is, for example, if I want this edge loop to run down continuously, I'll use the knife tool, the cutting tool, and then I'll start by cutting all the way down the other side. Press enter. But then in the end, I will create a three-sided face. So you can fix the three-sided face by just, you can create another three-sided face here. And then when two three-sided faces join together, what do they become? You can delete away this edge loop. And then when two of these are joined together later on, they'll become four-sided faces. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. All the way here, press enter. And then I'm going to manually cut another face, maybe here. Nothing about modeling is quite fluid. If you feel that the faces are not behaving the way you want, or the topology is not behaving the way you want, you can always reflow it or reconstruct it, either by deleting away the faces and reflowing the topology lines. Okay, let me go to the front view, and you can see this section is bulging out quite a bit. So now I push this in my front view reference to get it to match. And as for these two, I can push it back a little bit to match the profile of plane I'm trying to model. And then maybe this vertex, I'm going to push it back a little bit. Okay, so you can see I'm still using very little amount of polygons. Okay, but I'm getting it to match, block out the shape as close as I can. So this should be the goal when you are starting out to model. You do not want to overwhelm yourself with too many edge loops or too many detail. This applies to all modeling. Okay, whether you're doing it, doing a car or anything at all. Okay, over here you can see there's a curve, and I want another edge loop with enough vertices to represent this curve. So naturally, what do? I insert an edge loop. Then I'll go and grab the vertices and then move it up. And this one, move it down. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the front view. Okay, everything looks about okay. Now here comes the tricky portion here. How do we create the jet intakes? Okay, so for the jet intakes, we need to identify the faces that form this section here, and then we can pull them out to form the volume of this section here, so that we can extrude inwards the jet intake. So as mentioned earlier, you must study the profile of your target model, and then you move the edge flows or the vertices. Try to move them as much as you can to match the flow of the model that you want to create. And in this case, the jet intake is merged with the wing. The wing actually starts right about here, and around this edge loop here. So I'm going to position it there. And I guess the root of the wing ends about here. Okay, I can verify that by going to perspective view and then see where it ends. Okay, the wing ends right about here. So you can go to the top view using the top view reference and figure out where does the wing end. The wing ends about, okay, wait, actually, let me just take a look at an actual photograph of the plane itself, because sometimes you need actual photo references in order to study the back of the tail plane. Okay, I need to look at here. So you can see the wing actually continues here, but then it doesn't cut across this, what we call this, a stabilator. This is called stabilator because it acts both as a stabilizer and an elevator. So it actually ends here, and then there's a notch that goes inside here. So that's where image references are very useful. So I'm going to keep this open and take note of that. So the root of the wing actually comes out just ahead of this stabilator here. So let's go back to Maya. Okay, so now I know it starts about here. So I'm going to insert one edge loop. Insert one edge loop right about here. Okay, so that is where I'm going to pull out the wing. And later we will have enough sections to pull out the perhaps the what they call the ailerons and the flaps. Okay, so now we have this diamond shape here, but how do we make enough flat faces here to pull out the the jet in what do you call it, the jet intake and the rest of the compartment here. So we end up with an issue that we need to insert edge loops. Okay, and also you notice that this shape, right, has an internal face because of my extrusion earlier on. Let me just hide the X-ray. Whenever you extrude from a flat face and you end up with these faces in between, you want to delete them away. You don't want to keep them, because later when I mirror or when I create a duplicate special for this or the other side, okay, the faces in the middle will cause issues. Okay, so let's take a look. We definitely need more detail to pull out the faces there. So we definitely need to insert one edge loop here and here on the top and bottom. So let's go right ahead and insert one edge loop on top and one at the bottom. So just by doing this, we give ourselves plenty of faces that we can actually select and pull out to form the jet intake and the wing. So I'm going to select the faces that will form the jet intake plus the wing. So let's go back to right view, and we are going to the X-ray view. Okay, and I can see we have one area which the thickest part of the body, right, actually flows downwards like that. So that means I might need to create another extra edge loop, or I will have to cut one edge loop that flows around here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this tool. I'm going to cut one section here. I'm going to deliberately create a multi-sided face. And then, okay, you can see that I've already cut this section here. Now this is a multi-sided face. I want to insert one edge loop right about here. Shift right mouse click, insert edge loop. I want to insert one edge loop right about here. And then I want to connect these two by using the split polygon tool, or rather the multi-cut tool. Okay, so now I've cut this already. So I have more than sufficient faces to start to pull out the jet intake and the wing. So I'm gonna grab these faces here, or the faces which I think will form the rest of the body, okay, and including the one on top here. Okay, notice now all these faces are selected. Go ahead and extrude it using the global axis switch and pull out these faces. Okay, and then using the scale function, you can flatten them. Okay, go ahead and flatten it, or you can just press R to flatten it. It works the same. Now go to your front view. Okay, while the faces are still being selected, you can rotate them until it matches the angle of the cross section, like that. You can use scale again to scale them up and move it up and down until it matches the cross section. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the top view and just make sure that the angle of the extrusion, everything match. You notice that the jet intake now, there's a angle that moves back all the way here. So we're going to check our extrusion, and I will see that I should push this edge, select this edge, go to the top view, and I need to push it back. Okay, then I have to be very careful because I don't want to push it back so much until it hits the other edges. So I have to select the other edges here as well, and I continue to push back, including this one. Okay, let's take a look from the top view. Okay, now I just simply push them until they match the top view. Okay, this one, I'm just going to push this one here. Select the entire group and scale them to flatten them. So if I go to X-ray mode, okay, you can see now I have my jet intake, which I can easily select the faces and then extrude inwards. But what about the top part section here? If you look at the front view, you notice that there's actually a slight transition that goes down like this. So what it means is that I need to select this group of vertices and puff them out. Okay, this group of vertices here and here, grab these group of vertices here, and I'm going to go to the front view, and I'm going to push them out until they puff out. You can use the rotation key to rotate them and then move them a little bit. So you have this nice transition. You can see the thickness of the wing transit over the edge like that. And if you look at this model, although it's still in the blocking stage, the amount of topology or the amount of faces that are used is still quite minimal. Okay, before I proceed further, I'm going to move the vertices to match the drawing as much as I can. So go to X-ray view and just move them. Okay, I'm moving it to follow the lines as closely as I can. Okay, use all the views to help you to align, okay, the vertices. All right. Okay, this is about as close as I can get. What about these two here? These two should be inside here. So where do they come from? Okay, so they are here. All right, that's fine. So now I have the body, half of the body done. Let's just go straight ahead and apply a duplicate special. In this case, the x-axis -1 is already set to that. Just duplicate special, and we can take a look at how it looks like. Actually, doesn't look too bad. Okay, there are some details that we have not done yet. So, but we're going to proceed with pulling out the wing. So first, we need to identify the faces that will form the wing. Okay. So let's go to X-ray view again. And we can see that the root of the wing starts right about here. Okay, let me just select this edge loop and then go to the top view just to confirm that the edge actually starts here. All right. So it's about there. I think my front view might be slightly off. Let me just verify. Let me just unlock my references again. I'm going to realign my references just to make sure that the front view and the top view are actually lined up. Okay, now I see the problem. The front view and the side view is actually slightly off. Okay, the top view actually needs to go forward a little bit more. Okay, now it is matching. Okay, so I'm satisfied with this. I'm going to lock it again. Go back to X-ray view, go to top view and check my model. Yeah, so it matches right now. Okay, it's still a little bit off, but it's not too bad. Okay, it's close to this one. So I need to identify the area that forms the wing. Okay, so I know the wing ends here. So we have the faces to form the wing, but I think I need a little bit more faces. But in order to create something that is not so complicated, I mean, I do not want to have so many vertices at the moment. Okay, I'm thinking, should I insert an edge loop here? I think perhaps I should. Okay, I'm going to insert one more edge loop here because I want to bring one more edge loop closer to here so that I can select the faces to form the wing. And actually, I'm looking at this now. I see a triangular face here. I want to fix this triangular face problem by converting this into a four-sided face. So I'm going to insert one edge loop right between here. So this is perfect. I solved this triangular face problem. And now I have enough faces. Normally, in order to form a wing, you need about 4 faces because you need to form the taper at the front and then the sharpening at the or the tapering towards the end. But in order to form the cone, or rather form the rounded shape nicely, I need perhaps to insert another edge loop here. Okay, I can use another edge loop here. So insert one edge loop right about here. So now I need to pull up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 faces to form the wing. So before I do that, I need to extrude out a small section, or before I actually extrude the small section, I need to move the vertices to form the wing first. So I'm going to move the vertices to form the cross section of the wing. So this part is very important, because if you don't have the shape of the wing, your aircraft cannot fly. Okay, I don't have the exact cross section of the wing. This is probably a government closely guarded secret. So I'm trying my best to follow this drawing as much as I can. So now you can see I have the cross section of the wing selected. Normally for an aircraft wing, the top part is curved and then the bottom part is not as curved, to give it an airfoil shape so that it can generate lift when the airplane is flying. Okay, that's a bit of aerodynamic information for all of you. So again, I'm going to select, okay, I've just created the cross section of the wing. I can start to extrude the wing. So with the faces selected, if you want, you can press press R to go and scale, force it flat first, okay, which is what I'm doing now in the world axis. Holding down the shift right mouse click, go ahead and extrude the wing. And we have the nicely formed wing. So if you go to the top view, you notice that the selected or the extruded wings are still rectangular. So move over to the, I'm going to end right about here. And then we're going to use the scale to, okay, not the extrude scale tool, but the normal scale tool by pressing R. Then I'm going to scale the selected faces in the Z-axis, press W, and then push these faces back right about here. Okay, because I'm going to extrude out the flaps and the ailerons manually. Right, so in order to follow the shape of the wing, you need to grab the vertices and then push them along. The goal here is to try to match the cross section of the wing as much as you can. Okay. Okay, so now I created this bit, and let's see what the side of the wing looks like. Okay, it looks a bit crooked. Okay, so I want to try to fix this. Take these two faces, and then you pull them down. Go to vertices, and then use scale to taper it. Now, a jet plane's wing is very sharp and very streamlined. Okay, let's switch over to the front view. And you can see the Raptor has a very unique wing. The beginning of the wing is actually very thick, like that. And then as it reaches the wingtip, it thins down. But if you've seen a photograph of the Raptor head on, you'll notice that it has this very unique curl to the wing. So you want to model that as well. But before we do that, let's get the shape. Let's get the shape of the wing out correctly first. Okay, let's go back to the top view. Now we ended up our section only here, over here. We need to create this extra section here. So how do we do that? Select the same group of faces again. Go ahead and extrude another portion. Okay. Go to the top view. Extrude it until it reaches the wingtip area. And then push it back. Okay, use W to move and push back the wingtip. Use scale. Scale it down until it matches the same width here. Okay, then what about this section here? For this section, we have to select the last two faces here and extrude it out. Okay, I'm going to use the global section and extrude it out. If you go to the top view, if I go to face mode, okay, let's go back to here again. Let me just try to undo. I don't know what I did just now, but I couldn't select it at all. So, okay, press W. Now go to top view, move the selected faces all the way, and then switch to vertex mode, grab the vertices, pull back this section. And now if you study the wing, now we have this notch here. I think my trailing edge here is a little bit too thin. So what you can do is you can select these group of vertices here and using scale just to make it them a little bit thicker. Okay, now they are thicker a little bit. So now I can pull out things like the aileron and the flaps. Okay, so for the flaps and ailerons, you just insert an edge loop here, one edge loop here. Okay, I don't know how the ailerons end. Again, I need to refer to, okay, I think the aileron, there's one section that extrudes out this way. Okay. So we got two groups of faces now, which we can extrude the flaps and the ailerons. So I'm going to extrude I guess these are the ailerons because on the outer edge. Pull out the ailerons, go to the top view, and check, make sure that they are in the correct angle and orientation. I think this is good enough. And finally, these two groups of faces and extrude using global axis and then pull out the faces. And then take note of these vertices here, the two edges here. Or let me switch it to vertex. Okay, because if you remember the photograph of the plane, the flaps, right, actually is at this angle, or rather if you look at the photograph, this is what the wing looks like. This is the flaps, and then this is the ailerons. Okay, actually the aileron is actually sticking out a little bit more. So if you want to model it accurately, okay, let's try to follow it as much as I can. Okay, wrong Maya window. So what you can do here is you can insert another edge loop here and then later perhaps join it together. But at this stage, since this is only a blocking exercise, okay, I'm just going to insert one edge loop here and then insert an edge loop here. That's because this is where the flap is going to be at. So later, I'm going to just join these two parts together. Okay, but essentially, my wing is done. There's only one more thing I need to do. There is to apply the twist. Okay, so for this to work, I'm going to select the vertices at the wingtip. So go to the right view and then use rotate and then just rotate ever so slightly, not too much, and then just move it down a little bit. If you go to the front view, okay, you can use the scale to puff up the wing a bit to match the drawing size. Then this one move up and then perhaps take this downwards a little bit. Okay, I might not be able to get this as accurately as I want, but at least now I've got the F-22, the general shape out. Okay, so let's take a look at it without the X-ray. And you can see the amount of edge loop that I use on this is still relatively low. Then what about the stabilators and the vertical stabilizers? Okay, those are actually quite easy to do. But before we do that, let's do the jet boosters first. Now the jet boosters for the F-22 is quite unique in that rather than a circular one, it looks like a beak, or what we call a squid beak. So what you can do is that you can try to grab these vertices. I'm going to just put them in a group first and then just pull them down to roughly form the shape first. Then going back to my perspective view. Okay, now this one is a mess here. I will have to insert a few edge loops or at least try to straighten these edge loops to form the correct faces. Okay, let me just study this quickly. Let's see. Okay, definitely I need more edge to run across here. Okay, right now for these vertices, I'm going to select all of them together. Then using scale to straighten them first, like that. Use scale and then, oops, okay, selected the wrong vertices here. I'm going to straighten these vertices out. Okay, so what I'll do is that I'll just temporarily flatten these first. We can come and work on them later. Okay, I'm going to grab all these faces here, or vertices, and then I'll just flatten them. Just put them back a little bit. Okay, because these so-called booster beaks, right, they actually open and close. And maybe I can build them separately later on. Okay, but let's work on the stabilator. The stabilator have this section here, this whole hydraulic section here, which I think will be formed by these vertices. Okay, let's see whether I have enough faces to pull them out. Yes, I can. So I'm going to select this group of faces here, and then I'm going to pull out an extension, okay, that will house the stabilators. So if we go to the top view and grab the vertices at the end here and then pull it back until it matches the back like this. So now I have enough faces to house the stabilator. Okay, for those people who are watching, and if I'm mashing up all the aeronautical terms, please forgive me because I'm not a professional aircraft engineer, just an aircraft enthusiast. All right. Okay, right now I'm just using the scale to line up the vertices. Okay, so let's work with the stabilator first. Okay, and usually if you go to the right side, the back part is usually quite tapered as well. So I'm gonna just scale them down like this. And perhaps this one should be, I guess it should be a bit higher, like this. Yeah, maybe these two vertices as well. I'm just nitpicking now because again, like I said, this is just um, blocking. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. So to create the stabilator, you just need another extra cube. Okay, go and create a cube, polygon cube, and go and split this cube into half because I want to cheat here. I want to create one stabilator, and then later I'm going to duplicate special to the other side. So go to the input and then split the width. Okay, and then I'm going to delete away half of the cube. Then from this cube alone, I can actually create the stabilator. I just need to insert one edge loop, one edge loop here, insert one edge loop here, then scale the whole thing down in object mode. Select the front two faces, scale them down, select the end two faces, scale them down, and then basically this is like the foundation for all stabilizers or front planes. So I'm just going to put them back a bit. Now select this plane here, and then we're going to move it back to the top view. Move it back here first, and switch to vertex mode. Select all the vertices, move them to the beginning of the stabilator, right about here. Extend the vertices until it ends here. Select the root here and scale it up vertically like this. And scale this part vertically as well. I'm going to switch to X-ray view. Grab these group of vertices, move them back until they are about central. Then scale them down until they match the length. Use move at the same time. Now grab these vertices, then move them back here until it matches the orientation. Then perhaps this guy, I'm gonna put it here. So what about here? This section here, it actually tips in backwards. Well, you can just insert an edge loop. Okay, shift right mouse click, select the vertex, and then push this vertex back in. And you have your stabilator done. Now, what we need to do is just move it into place. If you go to the right view, and there it is. But of course, the stabilator in the picture drawing is much thicker. So no problem, just go to select all the vertices, use scale, and then scale it up until it matches the same thickness. We have the stabilator now, one piece here. If we go to shading, just go and apply a duplicate special. Then you have the other piece on the other side. Now for the vertical stabilizer. There are a couple of ways they can do it. You can also build the vertical stabilizer out of the stabilator just by duplicating it and then sticking on top. Or you can insert enough edge loops here, okay, to form enough faces to pull out the vertical stabilizer. So we need to find out where the vertical stabilizer starts. Let's see. Let's go to the top view again. Okay, the vertical stabilizer starts here. So I'm going to insert one edge loop here and one edge loop here. So insert one edge loop here, and then we are going to scale this to flatten this. And repeat, insert edge loop again, right about here. So now we have the faces to actually extrude the vertical stabilizer. So as I mentioned, we need minimum 4 faces to form an airfoil shape. So let's just check. Okay, over here we have 6 faces. So these 6 faces are going to form the stabilator. Extrude. They're going to extrude a tiny portion of it. Then I'm going to use the global to scale it down flat first until it's flat. Then I'm going to reduce the size, narrow it down. Going to the top view, I'm going to grab the vertices on. This one is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to switch back to non-X-ray view. I'm going to manually build. I'm going to manually build the vertical stabilizer. I'm going to grab these faces and pull it out slightly. Okay, these vertices, again, will have to be close together because you want to create that streamlined airfoil shape. Perhaps this one I just want to push it forward a little bit so that it has this nice airfoil shape. Okay, now you can see here, we have the root of the vertical stabilizer nicely created. Okay, now we can select these faces. Okay, make sure that go to the top view, X-ray view. Make sure that you position the faces at the correct location. In fact, I can reshape this again to match the cross section of the vertical stabilizer, like so. Okay, then I'm going to tweak it again in a shaded view. Just want to make sure that the shape is nice for me. Again, this is me nitpicking. Okay, but if you want your aircraft to look nice, it must have all these cross sections. Okay, I'm going to nitpick here a bit. I'm going to select this face and then just taper it down. Okay, now back to this vertical stabilizer. Select these faces, holding down the shift, right mouse click and extrude the face. And extrude one vertical section like this. Now, if you go to the front view, you notice that the angle is wrong and it's too thick. Switch to scale, scale the tip down, press W to move, and then just move the face until it matches the angle of the stabilizer. Now, granted, the drawings are not exactly lined up, or there are some parts, right, which we need to still select and move. For example, this group of faces or vertices here perhaps needs to go up a little bit higher. Okay, let's go back to the front view, and then maybe I just want to move this up a little bit higher. These group of vertices, the root vertices, maybe just move it a little bit higher. Okay, so the angle is about correct. Okay, maybe the root is slightly off. Let's go to a wireframe, or rather X-ray view. And I just want to grab these group of vertices, or rather these edges. Put it back to the front view, and then move them across until it matches the cross section here. Now these group of vertices, or rather the edges, should forward here. Okay, I guess I'm happy with this. But the shape in the front view is correct, but the side is wrong. So let's go to the right view. Grab the vertices, grab these vertices, and then just simply scale them. And basically, your blocking is done. Okay, except for the boosters, okay, which we can work on it separately. We can actually build the booster separately and then just stick it on. But the essential shape of the aircraft is done. As for the jet intakes, you can simply select the faces here and then extrude them inwards. Okay, using the global axis, just push them in. Then scale them in slightly. Okay, if you want to be more accurate, there's actually a gap between the jet intake and the bottom here, if you study the photographs closely. But for blocking purposes, I think this is fine for now. I'm going to delete away this face so that you can see through the aircraft. Okay, there are some tweak areas that you can tweak. For example, this vertex area, you can push forward so that the root will actually look much more streamlined. Okay, I think there is a crossover vertex here, which is not a good thing. Just going to push this back just like that. Okay, so basically this is it. This is how you block out an aircraft like the F-22. Normally, like if you were to subdivide this, the results will not be good, but actually for a game model, right, I think this is actually quite sufficient. Okay. So you can refine this further by adding more edge loops, separating the different components and refine it. It might be a good idea to actually break this model into several parts and then concentrate on working on each individual part before you put it back together again. But this is how I would approach blocking out this particular model.